Camera roll down and pop it. It's optional. You see the bag is popping up. And then our picture is popping. Hello and welcome to the HR Data Lab Brown Bag Lunch. I am your co-host alongside my other co-host. I am David Turetsky, and that is Dwight Brown. Dwight, how are you?
David Turetsky, I am well today. It's a Friday, and things don't get any better than that. Well, maybe a Saturday.
We're live on a Friday, and LinkedIn's actually working today, so we're LinkedIn live on a Friday.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
We haven't had that in ages.
Yeah. No, it hasn't. It's been bad, but that has not been the reason why we hadn't been doing this. We've been unbelievably busy, but we are sorry, and we're here now, so we can take your questions. So first of all, I want to welcome my friend, the friend of the programs, Chad Atwell.
Hello.
Candor IQ. Chad, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be on a Friday, not traveling, getting stuff done, and looking forward to a nice, quiet weekend. So, yeah. How about you guys?
Well, before you get to that nice, quiet weekend, you got to go through us. And nothing's going to be quiet about this.
No. I mean, anything I could do on a Friday is kind of shoot the breeze with friends and everything. So I really appreciate the invite.
And that's what we're doing today. And what we typically do on the HR Data Labs Brown Bag Lunch is we throw you a curveball and ask you, what's the last thing you did for the first time?
I've got a good one. I've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
For the very first time, I've traveled to Boston. I've traveled to New York. For the very first time, I traveled from New York to Boston on a train. I had never done that before.
Oh.
Yeah. And
wow.
It was so exciting. It was, first of all, I was with a small team of us. We're trying to find our way to the train station, right? And so there's Penn Station where one of our people ended up, and then we were over at Amtrak where we were all waiting for them. And then when you get to Amtrak, they don't tell you which station you're on right away, right? You have to wait. It's like 10 minutes before you're going to board.
And then you have to look at the big board.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So it was, and then you get on the train and it's just kind of, watching everything go by at that point. But the whole getting on the train was really exciting. I'm in Colorado, so I just don't travel by train. There's kind of a long way for me to get to a lot of other places. That was a lot of fun. First time I'd ever done it, and it was super convenient. Getting work done on the train is a helpful thing.
And if you can get the Wi-Fi to stick, because sometimes that Wi-Fi is pretty
There was
spotty,
a little bit of that. Yeah, for sure. But
a little bit on the spotty side.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Spotty side.
Okay. Yeah.
But what we wanted to try and do today, beyond the Amtrak spotty Wi-Fi, is to talk about the world of compensation. And boy, has it changed. In the time I've known you, and I think I've known you for, what did we say the last time? 14 years, 15 years?
14, 15 years, yeah.
Yeah. Even in 15 years, the light speed change of the world of compensation has been just astronomical.
What if I told you that your boss skydives, Tim in marketing is a magician, and Sam in accounting does sums in his head while standing on his hands? Seeing sides of the people you work with but never see, sides that inform and inspire their work and that can inspire yours, is what The Talent Show is all about. Email me, Tom Alexander, host of The Talent Show, at talentshow@backboneinc.com and show us what you got. I look forward to seeing you on The Talent Show.
So first, let's talk about what's your feedback. What has hit you the first or the most about those changes in the way the world of compensation has changed?
I think just because I spend so much time working with companies and I'm in their data and their tools, the tools was the first thing that came up for me. It's like, we used to it was very paper-based. You didn't have a lot of really good electronic resources to rely on. And so your salary surveys were coming in a binder. And so there was a lot of and there was no way that was coming out every month or every quarter. So it's sort of like tech / data, those two things together. That's what's changed the most remarkably for me. We have so much more access to data. even traditional surveys have gotten much more quote unquote real time to a certain extent. And then you've got all the new data sources, right? With all the market data that's coming out as well. So, but tools in general, I mean, Excel is never going away. We're always going to be deep in Excel, but we've gotten so much more and better tools to kind of utilize the data that's coming in from the variety of market sources and all that as well. So that was definitely the first one.
I'm going to date myself on this, Chad. You're going to love this. When I worked at Morgan Stanley and I was doing comp analysis, especially for the managing directors, the top of the organization, I used to use Lotus 123 on OS2 Warp because OS2 Warp was a preemptive multitasking system. And I could make changes to a spreadsheet and literally print it out before I actually saved it. Which, if you remember the old days, were with Windows 95, or actually before that, even Windows 3.1, you couldn't do things like that. You had to save it and wait, and then you had to open it, or then you had to set the print range and print, and you had to wait until the print finished before you did anything else. But Lotus 123 with preemptive multitasking allowed me to actually, even before the end of the print job, go and make changes and then print it again.
Yes.
And there was a print queue.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, that was revolutionary. And I was the only person at Morgan Stanley who was using OS2 Warp. And I got approval because the operating committee did not want to wait when I was printing out what we called bed sheets, which was all of the MDs.
Right.
They were.
Right.
They were tablet pieces of paper that were pasted together with tape.
100%.
And then rolled up. And I used to print them all out and deliver them to the operating committee.
Right. Yeah.
But you couldn't do that if you had to wait hours and hours.
You'd use the 2-hole punch and put them in a horizontal booklet of something like that with the 2 tabs that would stick up, and you'd have to have massive, like almost like a photo album of all the reports that you had created and that kind of.
And the world of analytics was paper. I mean, it was all paper, and a lot of times it was you had to do all the math and then write it out in a Word document or whatever I forget what the word was. It wasn't Word Perfect at the time. It was something else. But there's
the trip.
Yeah, the first thing I ever really automated in was Microsoft Access. And the thing about Access was I never learned how to code. I was never a developer. I never really did much of anything in that space. Microsoft Access was able to show graphically the way that you could connect all of the different tables, right? And so early on in my career, I was taking the HR data and the job table and the 3 or 4 different surveys that we were using, and you built all of those little squares in Microsoft Access, and you'd be able to kind of, combine them all together.
The joins it was graphical, and it was magic.
Yeah.
I mean, you could join tables together, and if it didn't work, you just go back and edit it and then fix it.
Yeah. And we're still doing that. I mean, coming through cloud and everything else that we've done, that's still the challenge. That probably has not changed as much as we probably should have at this point, where the integration is still slowing too many companies down. Like trying to integrate data between systems and everything like that continues to just roll on.
And if I'm not mistaken, Chad, that was 1994 or 1996 or 1997 that Access was really kind of utilized by HR.
Oh, yeah.
That's about when I started using it.
Yeah, I did too, Dwight. And it wasn't even web based at that point. It was still
that's right.
It was still
it was installed on your desktop, and that's actually how I started learning about tech. Really getting deep into tech when helped me understand the database structures and the relationships and data flows and all those kinds of things. And I'm like you, Chad. I still don't code. I don't know how to code. And I love the fact that we now have vibe coding to do some of these things. But I've never understood syntax. I've never understood the languages, but I understand the data flows. I understand how all the tech works together.
To be honest, Dwight, now that vibe coding is there, the people who do know all the syntax and remember the semicolons or the the whatever it was,
Yeah,
they're thinking, God, I don't want to do that again, or I want that to get purged from my mind so I can store my child's birthday instead.
Yes, exactly.
But and the reason why it's good to go back all those years is, for a lot of us, we're still doing like Dwight and I do a lot of the vibe coding now, and we actually had a couple episodes on the Data Labs podcast talking about this, where we're developing things that are kind of not even next generation. They're just automating shit we do today.
Yeah, right.
So it's not like he and I aren't trying to break new ground necessarily, although we'd love to. We're literally just trying to survive by having the vibe coding and having these new fangled systems take parts of our job away from us so that we could focus on other more value added tasks.
Right.
Yeah, I was attending a webinar not too long ago, and a bunch of HR people were talking about all the different related sort of like HR, like they would take an entire day and a bunch of them would get together and they would just talk about the different problems and things that they wanted to build an AI solution for. And there were too many, maybe not too many, but there were more than I expected companies who had built something in a very short amount of time that easily could replace a lot of the products that have been out there for years. And they're building them internally on their own data sets and their own business requirements, essentially building for themselves. So that was a pretty amazing conversation, is to kind of see how quickly they could spin something up in a very short amount.
I think, go ahead.
I think I think we're kind of at a turning point when it comes to software development itself, and just the nature of software in our general lives. I think we are going to see more of this micro development like that, more and more, and it's going to be tougher and tougher on the software companies. How do they keep that market? And honestly, I think part of it's going to be because you still need things to be connected. You still need that common platform. But it will change, and it's just a matter of how.
I think it also comes back to best practices, and if that's even a word, or common practice, and knowing that there are other ways of doing something. The thing that I don't like about a company building their own is, first of all, people leave. Technology changes, and then there's no one to support that. And then hiring someone new who knows exactly what was on the mind of that person who built that thing, it's impossible. And they take shortcuts, right? So I think having a bespoke system, it certainly has had its time, and actually with vibe coding and with these ways we can spin up new technologies, it may become much easier. But I think there's still always going to be a place for a salary.com or a Candor IQ even to be there, because we are the companies that build best practice into what we do. And we are innovating as well to try and be, to think a step ahead or a couple steps ahead to try and find where those innovations are going to take us.
Well, and HR is definitely not the only one asking for these solutions. And so that, we're never going to be top of the priority list when it comes to the applications that companies are trying to build for themselves. Right. I agree. I think there's still going to be a place. There's just going to be a lot more options, quite a few more options for where people are going to. I mean, David, going back to what you said originally, it's like IT kind of has to control and approve all these different technologies and things that are being used anyway. Compensation, especially, you're talking about security and privacy and other things that go into it. So there's definitely some things that you need to build into any solution in this space, and SOC testing and everything that goes with it. But there's just going to be so much more. I didn't go to HR Tech Conference this year, but every year that I've been there, it's always just brand new stuff that pops up all the time, and it feels like it's just going to continue to escalate.
Yeah.
You imagine, and this might actually be happening. Could you imagine if someone uploaded their compensation, their demographics and compensation data into ChatGPT?
I'm just waiting for that story to come out.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine somebody saying, "Hey, can you do a pay equity analysis on my company and have all that demographic information?"
Right.
That is the chief legal counsel really needs to be involved with anyway. But could you imagine they upload that stuff to ChatGPT 5 and say, "Hey, can you run a pay regression analysis on this to see if there's any pay equity issues?" You know that might happen. I mean,
for sure.
by the way, I'm not calling anybody stupid.
You mean we're not supposed to do that? No.
Okay, maybe I should call someone stupid. But
yeah, exactly.
no, but seriously, think about how no, come on, you're not stupid. How many people don't know that you're not supposed to use, generative AI to expose your data and to expose your secrets?
Yeah. I do it. I've done that not with actual company data. I've created my own sample data, and that is some of the funnest stuff in the world, is just to see kind of what comes out, because you're building the data knowing that you're building in some level of inequity or something that's not quite consistent, or that sort of thing. And so even if you were to just build it in Excel and go like formula random and build in a bunch of different data points based on that, it's still worth at least seeing how the tools answer the question when you just say something in general, like a pay equity analysis or gender inconsistencies or anything, like what it actually spits back at you. It's
even a compression analysis,
experimentation.
Yeah, even a compression analysis where you're saying here's the demographics of the, or here is the data from the census. I was looking for the word census of the QA group. See if there's any pay compression in the QA group. I mean, that's kind of simple. Now, here's the thing, though. Does the model, or do the models understand our vernacular? Because our vernacular is very specific to compensation.
That's right.
We love to use it all the time, like compression. And people go, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah. My experience is I'm amazed at how much it does understand. And our vernacular included. But the other piece about it is that, like you say, it's fun to put the data in there and see what it spits back out at you. But the additional questions that it creates in your head as you're looking at what the output is, it's like, God, I hadn't even thought of looking at it that way.
Well, now you don't have to worry about doing the analysis, so you can have those thoughts, right? You can ask those other questions because you're not stressing out about, how am I going to analyze this?
Right.
I'm seeing it firsthand in Candor IQ as we build out our own AI tools and agents and that sort of thing. Like the way that you are compartmentalizing data, so it's not universally taking all of the data from our application and sort of looking at it. It's trying to cluster it into these different areas. So it's very targeted kind of on the question or the particular data that you're studying at the time. So that helps with speed of the answers, but it also helps with all the context, right, that needs to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, eventually we're going to be in a position where we're going to be much more experts at how do we shepherd these technologies.
Right.
Right now, we're at our infancy. We're at our nascent stages. So it's telling us what it can and can't do, and we're learning from it, and it's learning from us. And so eventually we'll get to a meeting of the minds with both of these, with the technology and the technology getting used to us, hopefully, where we get better at all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, as Dwight and I have been investigating these technologies, figuring out what aren't we doing that we should be, or what opportunities are there. I go back to what you were talking about with Access. When I started using Access for the first time instead of Excel, it was an epiphany, because now I could denormalize my tables and get to a level of sophistication and development of an application in Access that I could never do before. Well, now the technology is doing it for me. I don't even have to worry about joins. I don't have to worry about the views or the panels or the forms. It used to be called forms, right? And then the reports. It's doing it all for us.
I know.
Right.
I go back. Dwight, the thing that you said earlier kind of really struck with me is, early on in my career, I had the benefit of being the more technical person on the team. Compensation, I think a lot of people play that same role. You're kind of living in spreadsheets all the time and the systems. And so a lot of my career success was due to the fact that I was even just the general help desk person for the HR team. If something wasn't going right on your computer, I could probably be the one to help you fix it. So I just had a lot of career success because I knew things technically. I don't think that's true anymore. And I think it's going to be a lot of, Dwight, you were talking about the relationships. How do you connect this to that and create, show the relationship between those two things? And I think that comes back to being able to ask the right prompts and understanding the business problem that you're dealing with, that sort of thing. But I don't know that just being the smartest or one of the smarter technical people in the room is going to necessarily give you that promotion.
Right.
Which is very different. It's very different. Or maybe it's going to be the lucky person, Chad. It's going to be the lucky person who stumbles on something that's unique and says, hey, did you guys see this? Did you guys see what I just did? Oh my God, that's groundbreaking. Why did you do that? I don't know. I just asked it to do something and it did it. And oh my God, it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the prompt expert is the one who is going to be the one advancing. How do you don't have to know the technical aspects of things. You just got to know how to ask the questions and what kinds of questions, when do you ask it? What do you tell it to do? And it's totally different side of the brain than what we're used to and what we've kind of grown up with.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe I should ask the question, now that we've gone down this road, where do you see it going, Chad? Do you see that the robots or the cobots, which is a new word that we just learned.
Our new word.
Yes. I like it.
That we thought was a misspelling.
Perfect.
We thought it was a misspelling, but it's not. There are cobots.
It is not.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
The robots or the cobots, are they really going to eventually take over?
I think the cobots, you're the artist. You should create a new 80s cartoon based on the cobots. I think let's spin that one up right away.
Be like for the next season of the HR Data Doodles.
Another universe in the Transformers universe or something like that.
Right, exactly. Run it next to the Jetsons. And
there you go.
There you go. I've worked in a lot of the tech industry, both from a consulting and my own sort of practitioner roles. And so many of them have gone to much more sort of formulaic driven comp plans, and you get a standard increase, X plus Y equals Z. And, you're kind of driving things more formulaically there. So I think what I see in the future is that there will be more of that, more algorithmic driven recommendations. The AI tool hopefully will tell you this is going to give you the best possible outcome against this criteria. You're trying to be market competitive, internally equitable, and aligned with performance overall. Those are the three, if you were to look at any compensation philosophy out there, that sort of thing, those are going to be the three major points that companies are trying to achieve. And so you can come up with others around increasing retention, developing skill sets. You can start to install other criteria, but then it, starts to get confused, I think, at some point. So if you're really clear about the criteria you're trying to do, my hope actually is that there will be the ability for an AI to sort of create the perfect scenario around what a salary increase should look like, what a bonus should look like, what the LTI should look like. And then you, as the person in the loop, you're still able to kind of review it and make some tweaks here and there. But just being able to get you to that starting point is going to be huge. Save a lot of time for people and potentially take some of the decision making out of the manager if that's what you're trying to do. But that's kind of that's a cultural thing as well.
I think one of the problems is still going to be, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I'd love to talk about this, that there are so many differences by industry and so many differences by job and so many differences by municipality even, that have regulations around work being done and the type of work being done and the how it gets paid, that we're always going to have people have to have their fingers at the controls to say, don't do that, Cobot, because if you do, I'm going to get in trouble with the Department of Labor, if the Department of Labor is still around at that point, of course, but or the robot Department of Labor at that point.
Yeah.
But I still think there's going to be a need for having people in or agents that tell them, hey, you can't do that in this country. You got to do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's that you come across the different parameters that need to be included around legality and minimum wages and, all the other things, the guaranteed, like, does an AI understand how guaranteed stipends and allowances and those sorts of things factor into total compensation overall? I mean, those are all the things that, it probably doesn't account for with some of the initial stuff that we've seen.
It's got to get over this hallucination shit because you can't make stuff up.
Right.
You can't make stuff up.
Yeah.
It's got to say, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't do that well.
Of the models. Sorry, Dwight?
It doesn't do that well. Although these days you can tell it not to hallucinate, and it creates a check in there. I don't know what the check is, but yeah,
right.
Yep. Not 100% guaranteed, but yeah, I just read about that the other day.
Don't you think that would be really cool for it to just have that on all the time for every model then?
Maybe that should just be the standard operating procedure.
Exactly.
Yeah. The last
does that need to get
right
the
in every prompt.
GPT-10 for that to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
You
have to pay for that premium.
Yeah, exactly. It's another $20 a month.
Exactly.
Well, maybe people like the hallucinations. I don't know.
I think they're fun. I get the most frustrated is when it tells me something that looks like a fact and I ask for the source and it's not a fact. Like, that's
right.
Crazy right
now.
But
it makes up the source too. So you got to be careful. You got to go back to that source.
Yeah, you got to check the source.
I was doing an executive compensation analysis, right? And I'm using Def 14As. I'm using actual proxy statements.
Nice.
Well, I looked at one and I'm like, Charles Smith is not on this board of directors. What the hell is this? And I went and I looked, and of course there's no Charles Smith. And I said, you made that up.
Yeah.
And the vibe coding said, you're right. I'm reading from the PDF. Why did I make that up?
Interesting. Weird.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. You need to answer that question.
Right.
But that's the problem, though, Chad, is that unless the people at the helm know to look for the hallucinations and to QA their data, and there's sometimes the models they're doing or building, and Dwight's got these gigantic models that now I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah. Well,
you should be, Dwight.
It'll continue to come back to. I mean, you guys have talked about this for years now, but just the data that underlies all of this is not good, right? Our job architectures are a mess, our levels are inconsistent, our titles are crap. Like, I mean, there's just so many different things that are going to lead to that as well. So that definitely will never change. Like, to the extent any of us as consultants can help organizations clean up their job architectures and all that, I think it'll be.
But we're never going to change the job architecture of the board of directors. And board of directors, the board itself is fine. But when you have people who are chairman and CEO, and then someone else is chairman, president, and CEO, and you're trying to decide whether or not I'm going to analyze that person against the other person who's just a president or just a CEO, and the AI goes, no, you can't, because their job titles are different. Oh, God, really? Really?
Do I really need to educate you on this?
Are we going to go there? Yeah, apparently we have to go there.
Let me teach you. Yeah.
That's when you know you love AI, when you start to have arguments with it.
Yes. or then you know that you need to take a break, Dwight.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But we could talk about this all day, but unfortunately, we are at the half-hour point, and I promised people that we would only stay at a half hour. So, Chad, we're going to have to invite you back again so we can keep waxing philosophical on the future and the past.
Yeah.
So many other things have changed since we started, for sure. So, yeah, plenty to talk about.
All right. Well, thank you, Chad.
Okay. Thank you
you,
all.
Dwight.
Thank you. Thanks for being on. We appreciate it.
And thank you all for listening. Take care and stay safe.